Hi everybody, Jackson here. Welcome back to the daily endeavours for the 3rd of April. As always, there'll be timestamps in the description if you want to fast forward to one that you're stuck on in particular or something. Right, so we've got a 10 seal set. I just want to point out, you might notice from the thumbnail, there won't be any videos for a few days. Got a lot of personal shit coming up this weekend. I will not even be at the computer, so yeah, nothing I can do about that, unfortunately. It's a lot of important stuff that I've got to do. So if there's like one in the over this weekend that you're struggling with, maybe just comment on this video and like ask me what I would do for that one, and maybe I'll give you some help. But again, I got no guarantees for that. It's just going to be busy all weekend basically. So from tomorrow, like basically as soon as reset happens tomorrow, I'm going to be off somewhere. So yeah, it's a pain in the ass, but I guess a few days away from the computer will probably do me good or something, I don't know. But yeah, so I'll make tonight's video will be fine, just the same old shit. So we've got a 10 seal set, 20 foes with weapon abilities, Chitinous Foes, killing a player in Cyrodiil, finding raw materials, and completing 4 stages. So I think foes with weapon abilities, 4 stages, Chitinous Foes, refined materials, all good. This one, you probably want to get you'll probably want DLC for this, and you probably want to get access to a companion. You can do it with players, and it doesn't need to be a guildmate, which is good. But companions are just better because you don't have to wait for another player to get ready, so yeah. That being said, players are definitely way better than companions. Companions are dumb as fuck when it comes to most content. So I'll start with the refining one. I think this one is actually probably one of the quickest in the game, but does require a little bit of investment. Right, so I think rough wood is the only material you should be refining, purely on the basis that it's a lot cheaper than any of the other rough materials that you can get. So as you can see here, it's 12 gold per item for rough ruby ash. If I go and check the other ones, rubidite ore is about 4 times, just slightly under 4 times more expensive. Ancestor silk's pretty crazy, rubidite's crazy, they're about 10 times, and then platinum seams and Dreughs dust is like even more ridiculous than that. So I don't really suggest any of this stuff here. As you can see, platinum dust 174 gold a piece, so over 10 times more expensive than a single piece of wood. Even like the pulverized stuff is not as cheap, so I wouldn't use any of that. You could use stuff like cassiterite sand. If I got any in the craft bag, yeah, cassiterite sand. That's even that's more expensive. Yeah, just don't bother with any of that shit. It's hard to come by anyway. So that's the only stuff I would use to refine. You can get tons of that stuff in its rough forms in a lot of guild stores out there. So it's under materials, you go whichever one you want to look at, raw material, and you go there. So pick fucking woodworking, what are you doing? So yeah, rough ruby ash, 12.5 gold a piece, of like 2.5 grand for a full stack. You could use that twice to get some of these done, so spending a couple of thousand gold to get a bunch of 10 seals done very quickly is good value, I think. But yeah, it's up to you. Another thing that works really well is if you have any surveys on you. I don't have any on here, but if you get surveys from Ritz, a single survey, no matter how far you are into champion points or anything, will give you 120 of a resource. So that's more than what you need for refining. So if you've got a single survey, that's all you need. Except for the enchanting and the alchemy surveys, those won't be good for this one. But any of the other surveys will be good. If you are going to do surveys, I suggest getting a character that has the max level crafting of that survey, so you can get the best resources, like platinum dust and all the ruby or red stuff. I think that's well worth the effort. Also, make sure you try and get as much of this passive here for each one, metal extraction, unraveling, jewelry extraction, all this stuff, because that increases the chance of getting goods, like good upgrade materials, like the gold materials, for example, from any of the refining that you do. It's not that big of a deal for woodworking because the gold material for that is actually not that expensive anymore. But everything else I think it's well worth it for. There's also a champion point that does the same thing, meticulous disassembly. If you can get this, it's really helpful. Also, plentiful harvest when you go get the surveys can increase the yield that you get from doing those surveys. So that could basically prolong it and the amount that you get and allow you to do it for like 2 whole refined materials endeavors. So stuff like that can really help out. So I'm going to talk next about foes with weapon abilities first. I think this is valid for doing Chitinous Foes and for 4 stages in the Infinite Archive, because both of these cases you can get your kills here and speed this one up a little bit. And then after that I'll show you something that I usually do to if you just want to get this one done on its own. So weapon skills, the first thing you need to understand is only the actual weapon abilities getting the kill on targets is going to work. So the last hit of, like, whatever deals the last amount of damage to an enemy has to be something from one of these skills. It can't actually be a light attack either. If your light attack gets the actual last hit, it doesn't count. It's fucking silly, but yeah, only weapon abilities themselves. So you've basically got 4 skill lines to work with, because one-handed shield and resto don't really have much. Like, they don't have... It's impractical to use one-handed shield, and resto doesn't have any damage skills at all. So two-handed, dual-wield bow, and destruction, they're all good options. I'm not a big fan of destruction stuff unless you just use Wall of Elements on the back bar and use a different thing on the front. Not a big fan of bow either, just because their AoE spam pool isn't that great, I think. Like, just... Because if you're on your, like, if you're in a group, it's great, but if you're on your own, all the enemies are coming at you and basically getting too close for the funnel to work properly. So I like dual wield and two-hand myself. Carve is great as a spammable. Dual wield Welling Blade's great as a spammable. But for everything, they've all got their own, like, ground targeted AoE that applies enchants. So if you use something on the back bar, as an example here, I've got a Darkstrike Greatsword. The set bonus doesn't matter, but the infused weapon damage, that really helps. Because you can use something like Stampede, Wall of Elements, or Volley to get a ton of weapon damage while you're doing this. Really helpful to kill shit a lot quicker. The only issue is with dual wield, you've got Deadly Cloak, which is fine, but if you use the enchants on dual wield, just use something that isn't weapon damage, because the effectiveness is halved. Use it on a two-handed weapon, I think. Yeah, Welling Blades, I think, is the best ability for this, because it's an execute, and it also double dips with a second execute. Sorry, this one here. There's 2 executes for dual wield, so you got under 25% health, all dual wield abilities do extra damage, and then this also does extra damage to enemies below 50% health. So this has got the highest chance of anything in the game to just one-shot stuff. So, well, not one-shot stuff, but get the last hit. So if you can use dual wield with Welling Blades in your front bar, you're pretty set. Use Deadly Cloak as well. Deadly Cloak's great. Also, Shrouded Dagger is good for Major Brutality, but yeah, whatever weapons you want to use here, I mainly suggest these 2 though. If you're Magicka, yeah, Wall of Elements for sure, or Impulse, but I'm not a big fan of Impulse either. So whatever you end up going with, you can. There's also ways to buff your weapon ability damage, but it's not that big of a deal. Just make sure you're not using proc sets. Things like Falcon's Gloria, Well of the Depths, Pillar of Nirn, shit like that. If that also counts for stuff that just, like, will steal the kill without giving any endeavor progress. But only use things like Order's Wrath is probably one of the best things you can use, because it just increases your damage done. Same thing with, like, things like Plundings or New Moon Acolyte, stuff like that is better, I think. Or, you know, Spriggan, Mother's Sorrow, anything that isn't basically when you deal damage, deal a bunch of damage. Anything that just increases stats is good. Alright, so with that out of the way, that's basically what we're going to be doing to these guys here. So these Dreughs, this is also another thing, Chitinous Foes. So there's 3 practical options here. There's Yagra in Somerset, if you've got that DLC. There's a couple of Yagra out the front of Wellington Cove. There's tons of Yagra that you'll deal with in the Abyssal Geezers, not just Wellington, but any of them. If you're base game, though, you've got Dreg and you've got Mudcrabs. So Dreg here actually count as Chitinous Foes. For some reason, even though spiders are technically chitinous, they don't count. So these things here... Are you okay? Wow, that fucking name. Okay. Yeah, I'll just get the kills now, just with this person here. Come on. Oh, okay, I guess he's done. Okay. That's 3, and as you can see, I'm also getting weapons ability kills. And when you get them, just make sure you... Yeah, I was a bit of an idiot before. Okay, so now that that's out of the way. So Dreg, there's also Mudcrabs, and you can find Mudcrabs in a few areas, but Dreg are, I think, better, because there's a lot more there's groups of Dreg that are easy to reach and are in large quantities in 2 locations. So you've got Dregside here, and you've got Vivek's Antlers in Stonefalls, near Ebonheart. These are both very easy to reach, because as I've learnt as well for Stormhaven, can't believe I've been telling everybody to play both Swain, there are both very easy ways to reach here. So, home tours, all houses, look for Gardner House, this one here. This is actually, yes, browse homes, don't use recommended. Because Gardner House, so browse homes shows all of them. So yeah, this one here, this one takes you to Wayrest. Because that's found... Where is it? Do I not have it? It's somewhere around here. You can find it. So it'll take you there. You just go a little bit west. You've got Dregside. This place is full of Dreg. So you got Dregs over here. And then if you go down here, there's Dregs down here. If you go this way, I think there's bears. And bandits. Yeah, I think you go this way. Yeah, so there'll be Dregs over here, and then there's a world boss here that is up sometimes, and the world boss has tons of Dregs with it, little Dregs, and they're like super weak. So this area is full of them, and then Ebonheart also has, with Vivek's Antlers, you've got this house here and this house here. So Ebonheart Chateu, Ebony, Flask, in-room, look for these as well on Browse Homes. Up here, just make sure you remove Gardner House if you're not going to use that, because that'll show Gardner's House a little bit. But any of those are good options. You travel to them, they'll take you there, you just exit out the front door, and you can go straight to where you need to be. Vivek's Antlers has a bunch of Dregs as well. There are mudcrabs in various places, but I don't find them to be anywhere near as grouped. Like, there's not as many of them in a small spot. Shipwreck Strand might be good, but it's a world boss that is sometimes dead, because it's a mythic lead drop. So people usually go there to get one of the leads in particular. There is Fungal Grotto 1, which has a ton of mudcrabs in a later section, but you do have to get a little bit further in. It's only 5 Chitinous Foes, so I would suggest doing this one just because it's relatively easy to get a couple of Dregs, because they do spawn... Well, they do take a while to spawn, but there's so many of them. You shouldn't... There shouldn't be a shortage of these things, just because people aren't going to be killing 20 at a time, only 5. And usually people will probably do other things anyway for this one. Yeah, go nuts, I think, for this one. So, next up, we've got the 4 stages in the Infinite Archive with a partner. So, this one is technically a base game, because Infinite Archive is a base game thing. Even though it's in Apocrypha, found here, you don't need Necrom to access it. You can just access it from any way shrine regardless. You can't actually travel here from Apocrypha. It's just it's its own thing that you can only travel to via way shrine. So there's 2 ways to do this. You can use a player or you can use a companion. Players are definitely better. Companions are pretty fucking dumb. But companions will be quicker just because you don't have to look around for a player and wait for them to get ready and stuff like that. So you can look through Group Finder Infinite Archive here and just check if there's anyone that wants to do the Infinite Archive for the Endeavor. But I think most people are just probably going to ask their friend or ask a guild mate or something. If you're in a guild, check if anyone wants to help with that. But if not, we do have companions. Now there's 8 companions in total. 6 are from DLCs. Miri and Bastion, these are from Blackwood. Ember and Isabella from High Isle. Azandar and Sharpest Knight, these are from Necrom. And Tenlorin and Zereth Var are from the Crown Store. You have to pay for these like $10 each. If you have any of the DLCs, that's good. Or if you use ESO Plus, you will get these as well. I personally wouldn't spend $10 on that just for 10 feel, but you do you. And so what I would do is, if you've got the money for some like blue quality or whatever, green quality, whatever, just like heavy armor, you can turn them into a tank and just have them take aggro. Or what I would do is just turn them into a healer. I don't like them as damage dealers because they really don't do enough damage for it to be worth it. I just like having them as a support to help me more than to help themselves. Okay, so I got Miri here. She's set up as a healer, and we're just going to run through. So it starts off very simple. There's usually 3 enemies, and one of them's range usually, and 2 of them are usually melee. What I like to do is group up the enemies together, go to the ranged enemy, and then usually the melee enemies will group up together. So in the 3rd round, you'll usually get a tier 1 quote dangerous foe unquote. But yeah, in the early stages, all the enemies are very weak. You won't have many dramas. Yeah, just keep in mind. Try and get kills with oh nice, actual weapon skills. Try and get kills with your weapon abilities. So I'll try using Pulsar. I'm not a big fan of this thing personally, but I just got a. So the vision that I just got, they're powerful buffs that last one round. So as you can see here, active weapon skills deal like double damage. So how much does this deal? A lot. So these. Oh yeah. So if they hit a wall, they don't end up going to their new location. Yeah, just keep getting these kills. So I've got a proc set on. So that's not great for getting weapon ability kills, but. So yeah, Wall of Elements is so good for this. That's why I don't even use bloody Impulse. Because Wall of Elements morph to Unstable is just such a good class embodiment. Now I got the other one. Yeah, Wall of Elements is just, like, Unstable Wall is just an AoE spam ball on its own. So. Alright, so now we get a boss. So it goes 2 stages, and then it always has a boss. So we've got Draking. It's pretty easy. So these bosses are pretty much just carbon copies of their dungeon version, just with less group mechanics. Alright, so we're halfway there. This doesn't count as a stage, unfortunately. So at least you get some mini adjust, I guess. So we get a vision. It will versus before. So this is a vision. It's different. So visions are not as strong as versus usually, but they last the whole round, like last the whole archive run. Useless because I don't have pets. I don't think companions count as pets anyway. Reinforce your. Oh yeah, okay. So basically vampirism, undeath passive. Take less damage the lower your health is. So yeah, that will last the entire arena. So. Which won't be long, let's be real, because it's only doing 4 stages. But whatever. Better than some of the other ones you get, like reducing your flame damage taken by 5%. Fucking life-changing. Swift Gale is really strong, actually. Every time you light attack sends out, it's like a Velodress proc. Except the procs don't explode when they hit something, they keep going. It's not great for doing the Endeavor though, because you want to get kills with your weapon abilities, not your verses. Oh, well, look at that. That was fortunate. Alright, so now we just kill everything with Swift Gale. So just try and line up your where you're pointing with as many enemies as possible. So for example, we'll try and group them up here. Perfect. Yeah, Swift Gale owns, man. It's really good. And that's it. So that's the 4 stages done. So it's pretty quick, but it's just that either you have to wait for a player, which can take some time, or you need companions, which is you're going to need to pay some money of some kind in order to get companions, whether it be through ESO Plus, fucking Archival Thoughts, the worst fucking one. I hate that one. ESO Plus, paying crowns for the companions, or paying real money or crowns for the DLCs. I say if you do want to get companions eventually and you don't have them, just wait for the collections to go on sale. The collections going on sale is like way cheaper than buying via crowns on the Crown Store. Okay, killing a player in Cyrodiil. So Vengeance is gone now, so it's back to being split into 3 different campaigns, and they're very. Oh, there's a little bit of action here, but action will be a lot slower because there's just less players in each one. Now, there's a couple of things I think you should know about trying to kill a player. Prime time can really help. Going into Alliance Locked when it's like busy is good because there's just a lot more action. There'll be more people. Because I find this time of night, like when nobody's on. The only players that are actually on are like the good ones, so trying to kill them is a lot harder than it looks. Also, that being said, you don't actually have to kill them yourself. Any takedown, anytime you damage a player and they die to somebody else or something else, it still counts. So what you can do is just like tap them and to just focus on keeping, like, staying alive. And if someone else kills a player that you've damaged, then that's it. So can really help for doing this one, because players are not dumb. You know, players aren't like players aren't like fucking mobs in a dungeon. They don't just stand there and let you let you hit them. Most of them don't anyway. Now there's the way builds work in PvP is a lot different to PvE. Burst damage and buffs and survivability are a lot more important for damage dealers than it is for in PvE. So basically, in most cases for PvP, you'll have like a offensive bar and then like a defensive bar. So I've just got buffs and heals and stuff on this bar, and then like mostly offensive skills on the front bar. Also, you want a lot of health, like 30,000 plus, maybe 35,000. Because you want a lot more health to be able to react to incoming damage. Players do a lot of damage in this place, so you don't need much resources. Weapon and spell damage and spell pen is a lot more important, and burst with spell crit and any of that stuff. But yeah, max resources isn't too important, as long as you got a lot of sustain. Now there's good... The build I usually use, if you want to know, I just follow MalcolmX. I'll link that in the description if you want to see builds yourself. But yeah, PvP, running into PvP with just like a PvE build, like 20,000 health, like a damage dealer, you die very fast. It can work, but you just die very, very quick. You don't have much, like, that much health isn't much to react with, because players can do a lot of damage in this place, especially if you don't have much crit resistance. Also, siege can really help. Using firebolt ballistas when enemy players are sieging one of your keeps is great, because it does fire damage over time, and it can just hit a bunch of players, and all it takes is for one other player to like hit them with siege or go in and kill them, and that's the kill done. So there's a couple things you can do to make this easier, but this will definitely be the most least reliable of all of these dailies today, and I wouldn't really recommend it over any of these things here, especially if you just got a little bit of gold that you can spend buying some resources for this. And Chitinous Foes and weapon ability damage is really easy, even from like level 3 onwards. Like, it's shit you can do. Oh yeah, sorry. There's one last thing I meant to do, and that was to show you Wayward Skills 1, which is where I would go if I just want to get my kills weapon abilities. Alright, so Wayward Skills 1. As you can see here, really weak enemies to kill. Just get rid of Miri. These guys have so little health. They have the same amount of health that like overland enemies do. So even with like a level 3 character, you can just run in here and just kill everything super quick. And there's like 20 skivers in this room, which is enough for weapon abilities. Just make sure you don't light attack and just don't have proc sets and stuff like that. Now, I did talk about this place yesterday, and it's like, probably most people already know. But I do want to point out that there is an easier way now to get here. I don't know where the fuck Gardner House is, but there is a house in this area here that you can actually access via home tours. I talked about it earlier, so Gardner House. So go browse homes, Gardner House, this one here. And this will take you into Wayrest straight away. You don't have to use the boatswains, don't have to run around like crazy, just use this house, leave the front door, it'll take you into Wayrest, and you just basically just walk a little bit southwest, sorry, and the dungeon is right here. So it's easy access to that. This is the only place I would use for doing any just weapon ability stuff on its own, and beats as well, because it's instance. So if you're not in a group, nobody else can come in here and take this stuff. As soon as you walk in, it's not like a public dungeon where other players can like kill the shit and you have to wait for it to respawn. Everything in here will be ready to go for you as soon as you walk in, and you can just kill it and just move on. So yeah, that's why I love instance areas. Okay, so that's it. Daily's done for now. Thanks everyone for watching. If you've got any questions, as always, just let me know. I might struggle to respond to them in a few days, but after that it'll be back to how it was as soon as I get back. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for your support as always. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you guys next time. Take care.